Welcome to the Mornings with Matt Career Podcast. Today I'm joined with Evan Babins. Evan is an award-winning event marketing manager with over 10 years of experience in hospitality, financial services, and software. He was named Special Event Magazine's top young event pro to watch in 2020 and BizBash's top 250 event pros in Canada. Evan joins us today to share tips and tricks about his journey from hospitality operations to event marketing, the importance of lifelong learning, and leveraging transferable skills for your next career move. If you like what you hear and want to learn more, check out our website at morningswithmattp.com. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at morningswithmattp, or follow myself, Matt Parkin, on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us today, Evan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this.
Looking forward to our conversation. So to kick things off, you studied social sciences and radio broadcasting when you were in school, and then you ended up working as an operations director in hospitality. So can you walk everyone through what that process looked like?
For sure. So my education journey, my career journey hasn't been linear, to say the least. And so I jumped around a little bit, finding what I was ready for, what I knew I wasn't ready for. And so after high school, I went to McMaster. I did a year of McMaster. It was literally a party. Nothing was focused on, I didn't really focus on school. It was that first year, not prepared for university mentality that I think so many people have. And I realized after that I needed to come home, take a little time off, mature a little bit. So I worked full time in corporate AV, actually started an AV company with a couple of friends. I then decided that, okay, maybe it's time to go back to school after a year off. So I went to York and I did 2.5 years, like you said, of social science. And then I realized that York and the university education system wasn't the right place for me with my brain, with the way I studied, with the way I learned. And so I was DJing as well at the time. I had been DJing for about 5 years at the time already at this point. And so I was like, what makes sense? And how can I transition DJing to education? And so for me, radio broadcasting made a lot of sense. It was the music, it was marketing, it was communication skills, all the stuff that we use in sort of DJing, MCing, running events, all that kind of stuff. And so I did the program at Seneca and I finished that program. It was amazing. I met a lot of great people, that are still on the radio in Toronto and other markets. And then from there, I sort of said, okay, so I've got this DJing slide going on because I was DJing like full time basically at that point. And I was like, how do I turn this into and transition this into a real career that isn't just DJing and playing music for parties? And so for me, step one was hospitality side of events. And so I went to work at Dynamic Hospitality Group that ran Atlantis and Ontario Place, which a lot of people have been to or used to have been there. It's closed now. And I started off as the AV manager for the building, for the company. And I worked myself up to the director of operations position before moving on to other kinds of companies, different areas in the events industry, and starting off. And so that was really how I started my career in events and event management.
That's awesome. I feel like so many times people have that passion, right? For you, it was DJing, and they often struggle to take that passion and find a way to generate income for themselves that kind of aligns with that passion. So it's really great that you were able to take that DJing passion and turn it into a career in hospitality. And for people that are maybe unfamiliar with the hospitality space, do you want to give a little bit more background in terms of what the operation side of things entails compared to the event side of things?
Yeah. So on the operations side of an event venue, you're basically in charge of all the front of house staff. So all of the servers, bartenders, like custodian staff, like anyone outside the kitchen is your responsibility and your purview. So what we would do is the sales team would sell the venue, sell the space. Clients would sign a contract and they would be transferred over to the operations team. And we would work with the clients from that signed contract all the way until the event date. So working with their vendors, helping them decide what works best in the room, what works best in the space. And then we would be there managing on site day of all the events, making sure the events are running smoothly, making sure, food service comes out, the bar is always up and running, everything's stocked everywhere, the building is running well, everything from an operational perspective. And so that would be our purview and my department's purview after the contract was signed until the event date happens and is completed.
Awesome. And then on that event side of things, is there anything on that side that kind of differs from the on the ground hospitality operation side of things?
Yeah. So I think in like my current role as an event manager and event producer, I'm working with different vendors to come and bring to the table to create the entire event. So I'm bringing and I'm sourcing the venue, I'm sourcing the AV, I'm sourcing decor, DJ, performances. If it's like, let's say, a corporate trade show, we're sourcing keynote speakers, we're sourcing breakout speakers for breakout sessions, we're sourcing companies that are going to sponsor the event. So in the operations side of the venue, you're one vendor of the event. Whereas on my side, in the role I'm in now, and the roles that I've been in lately, is more of like, I sort of look at it as like, to use a sports analogy for a second, I'm sort of the quarterback on the field, and I'm putting together the right guys, the right plays to create that end goal of that executional elegance, which is, a perfect event, right? Or like a touchdown, for example. So I'm like calling the plays. I'm like, when things go sideways, I'm like pulling back, calling the audibles, making those changes, and getting the team ready to deliver, that perfect event for clients.
That's a very helpful analogy, Evan. Hopefully, our audience will benefit from that. All the sports fans listening. And so, when you were working in hospitality in that operations role, were there any transferable skills that you thought that you developed that really helped you when you were taking those next steps in your career to go work in, financial services company, software company, corporate event agencies, those other companies that you worked at?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously number one is like learning about different kinds of events, looking at how to deliver really amazing events in different levels to different kinds of clients, right? The second biggest one would probably be, communication skills, working with clients, working with other vendors, working with internal teams within the company to make sure everyone's delivering together to create this seamless experience for clients. And then, I think on a macro level, it's like the industry as a whole, right? So as I've worked through the industry in different roles, like you said, I've been on a number of different event industry best of lists. Like that doesn't come for nothing. It comes with, years of experience. It comes with, managing every kind of event you can ever think of all over the world, literally across Canada, across the US, into Europe. And so I've got all these experiences that I started building back then, right? So building, I call my little black book of vendors, like everyone I've ever worked with and people who I can call in a moment's notice to be able to deliver for a client. So I started building that back then, and I add to it like every day, like I'm always finding new vendors, new people to work with, new companies that are starting or are growing or are shifting what they do and have new offerings, and how we can use them to help elevate events for our clients.
So it sounds like you not only developed skills in your role, but you've also been able to build a strong network in the industry that has really helped contribute to those accolades that you've received. And given that you've studied at 4 post-secondary institutions, are there any things that you developed in your degrees and your learnings that you think have directly helped you in your role as well? Or are most of your learnings very much on the job learnings?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this industry, it's very much on the job training and on the job being thrown in the fire, we call it, hoping that you can figure things out quickly. But I do think school, helped with organization skills, helped with, there is those communication skills that you learn on in school when you're, working in group projects where you're working on different assignments that you're delivering in different aspects of your school career that help you tailor those skills and help build those skills. Even like writing, corporate communications and, emailing with, CEOs and high level people at different companies. In school, you can relate that to like emailing your prof, or, if you're on, student council and you're emailing, the president of the university or whatever it is. There's a lot of times where you have to learn to talk to a certain audience in a very specific way. So I think that those skills help. I mean, I was never on student council in school or anything, but yeah, definitely those skills helped get me where I am today, and in a kind of, roundabout way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think that's the nice thing. You don't necessarily need to be the president of your student council to be able to go out there and develop transferable skills. I know for myself over the last few years, my writing has developed immensely. Back in high school, I used to hate English class. If you told my English teacher right now that I was getting recommendations and compliments from colleagues at work about my writing skills, they would have laughed you out of the room, right?
For
So
sure.
I
For
think
sure.
think students in school, they have a great opportunity to develop those writing skills, whether it be posting on LinkedIn, practicing sending emails, like you said. So that's really great advice. And speaking of advice, do you have any advice for people that are considering a career in the event space?
Yeah, I think, try to go to as many event industry events as you can. There's a lot that happen in Toronto. There's a lot that happen all over the world, wherever you are. Find people in the industry to connect to on LinkedIn. Find, whether it's you want to get into it via the school system, like there's a great program for special events management at George Brown. A couple of those other schools have events courses and events, diplomas or certificates that you can get if that's really interesting for you. But for me, I didn't go to school for it. I kind of fell into it in a weird kind of way. And then once you're in the industry, you never leave it. It gets in your blood, it gets in your soul. I'll always do something in events, no matter where I'm doing, where I'm working. It'll always be somehow related. So yeah, I think there's a couple of options. I'm happy to connect anybody who wants to chat on LinkedIn. Feel free to add me. Let me know that you saw me here, and I'm happy to connect, share some advice, share some stories, anything that works.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks for that offer, Evan. And listeners, feel free to take Evan up on that offer if you're interested in the event space. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us today, Evan. And if you found this episode helpful, we'd love if you can leave us a rating and share it with a friend. If you want to learn more, check out our website, morningswithmattp.com. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok at morningswithmattp, or give me a follow on LinkedIn, Matt Parkin. That's all for today. See you next week.